Okay.
as a
So you're taking
BPW.
BPW versus Ellain Beloc?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So, do you want me to start first, or are you?
I mean, you can go first if you want.
Okay, gotcha. So, I think my character is just gonna, like, essentially turn your character into nothingness. Do you want proof for that?
What's like the argument for that?
I got you, dude. So, are you aware that my character actually has every ability?
What is an ability?
What is an ability?
Yeah.
I'd say an ability is a quality or skill or capacity to do something.
Okay. And so, like, this character has every capacity to do something.
That's correct.
So if we were to go under,
ability.
if we were able to go under the assumption of that, like, I just want to be clear, what's like the rule of inference there?
Oh, I don't feel obligated to let you know that.
Wait, no, it doesn't have to be like a formal rule of inference. I'm just saying.
That's okay. I know it doesn't. I just don't feel obligated to tell you that. Sorry.
Wait, so you don't want to tell me like how it follows to the conclusion that your character wins?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you want to
not in this regard of this sense, but I will get you empirical evidence and proof that leads to my conclusion, though. What I'm making at the moment.
Like proof that leads to your conclusion. Wait, when you say empirical proof, like what
I'm
do
just
you
referring to physical proof that
like,
can be seen.
So, like observational. Okay, wouldn't you say that like this proof is considered like so-called proof because it's solely based off of observation, right?
I'd consider it proof considering the fact that it's evidence that supports a claim.
That's put to claim.
No, that supports a claim.
So, but I just want to clarify this evidence is only based off of observation, though, right?
If that's what you think, that I'm not going to make a direct statement on that.
Well, it was like empirical, so I just assumed it was.
I already defined what empirical means to me.
Exactly.
What I mean by empirical evidence.
Okay, well, we can just move along then. Yeah, I think
that's okay.
All the evidence.
So, what's your contention towards this?
Yeah, I think all the evidence that supports that is only based off of subjective interpretation because it's only based off of an observation.
What's the basis of this?
Yeah, so the way that this evidence can only be gathered is solely based off of an observation. Subjective means mind dependency, and so if this evidence is put forth,
this evidence is outside of the mind, and it doesn't seem to be something instrumental. This evidence seems to be something extramental. So where do you derive that it's
not empirical evidence? So it's not empirical evidence?
I believe empirical evidence are things that can be found experimentally. So where do you derive
okay, well then we can move along then. Yeah, that's completely fine.
So you agree then?
I'm just gonna wait for the evidence, and I'm gonna wait for how it follows.
I've given my evidence. So if you don't have a contention, that's fine. But you've stated that the evidence here is subjective, and you've also agreed at the same time that it's experimental, which would serve to prove it not subjective.
Yeah, so if it's not subjective, I just want to see you send it in pop-out chat, or did you send it in
I sent it in general chat already.
That's pretty cool. Wow.
Right.
Interesting. Alright, yeah, so...
What's the contention?
Yeah, so where does this, like, empirical evidence follow to the conclusion?
Oh, it's right here. So it states that they are omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent.
Yeah, that's fine. What I'm looking for here
omnipotence is defined as the ability to have every power and to do anything.
Oh yeah, that's completely fine. Let's just say we.
So that fulfills my initial claim.
Yeah, that's completely fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What's your next point?
I'm just curious for how that follows to the conclusion that your character can just
I've actually already explained why.
Oh, because they can do anything.
I've already explained why. If that's what you think, then that's true. That's fine.
Oh, okay. And so, I just want to be clear here.
Right.
What's like the rule of inference for why having every ability, skill, and like pretty much every claim that you made follows to the conclusion?
I believe the data that I've delivered to you serves as justification already, and I don't think that question is necessary.
Okay. Well, I'll just explain why it's like relevant. So, generally speaking, when, we have a conversation, especially about, cross-verse, well, obviously, the narrative isn't already laid out that one character wins or loses. And so, we have to put forth arguments.
And I've delivered data that supports it.
Yeah, and these arguments, right? obviously they have to follow to the conclusion in order for the argument.
I've read data and explained why it leads to the conclusion. Yes.
Right. Which you said leads off of the value that you think you've already delivered, but I just don't think you've delivered. Solely
That's
based
okay.
off of
We're
the
not
fact
here
that you
to
haven't
think. We're here
delivered
to
the real
debate.
evidence.
So what's the contention towards the evidence I've delivered?
Conclusions.
What's the contention towards the evidence I've delivered? Because you can think whatever you want, but I've already have more of a preponderance of evidence.
To clarify, there isn't a contention towards the evidence. It's completely fine. The evidence can be.
So what's the contention towards the, I'll say the interpretation of evidence that I'm giving?
Yeah, the interpretation. Listen, the evidence itself can be true. It's completely fine. I'm granting that sound.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying my interpretation of the evidence, the conclusion I'm forming. What's your contention?
The conclusion you're forming. Well, if the conclusions you're forming, the proposition that you initially gave, at the beginning of the debate is true, then the only thing that I'd have to say is that not once have you given a rule of inference, and so.
And I'll have to say I don't think a rule of inference is necessary because an inference rule is just used to derive conclusions from premises and explain them, but you can still explain something without using an inference rule that leads logically and soundly. In no instance do you have to necessarily explain the inference rule in order for it to lead to this sound and explanatory conclusion. And I can give many examples of such. In fact, the purpose of an inference rule is just to preserve truth and semantic property.
Yeah, listen, that's fine. What I'm looking here for is, not just something that, can be formally derived.
You said you were looking for an inference rule, and I told you to explain to you why that's not necessary.
Listen, you can provide a rule of inference without being formal.
I know I can, and you said that earlier, and I've acknowledged that. But I've already told you that that's not necessary, nor do I need to.
Well, yeah, but then just explaining that premises are sound doesn't at all follow to any conclusion.
I've definitely explained why it follows, and you've actually agreed with all the properties and evidence that I've delivered. So this isn't something that seems to be very contentious. Also,
I'll just explain it to you. So I'll give you an example, right? Let's say we have the proposition of God's existence.
What were you saying?
So I'll give you an example, so to clarify for you, so you can understand. So
no, I don't need clarification. I understand very well. I disagree with you.
So the clarification, right, is just going to be given with a hypothetical or an example. Let's say you and me are debating God's existence, and I say,
right.
Okay, well, I think there's some empirical evidence that we can look here and see that divinity or Hero is just drinking water, and so if that's true, then God must be true.
That doesn't even follow.
Right? Exactly, that's the whole point.
Yeah. But the issue is with that, there is no condition that leads to it that was specified. I've specified the condition to which necessarily leads to my conclusion. That's the only difference here.
Well,
and the data that I've stated directly points to my conclusion. The data that's empirically found beforehand within your analogy does not necessarily point to God because there is no truth condition that fulfills the truth bearer. I've already provided the truth condition that fulfills the truth bearer.
Well, wait, I just explained this to you, but I guess I'll say.
And I just also explained why that's, while true, not really analogous to the situation. You can keep re-explaining and re-clarifying all you want under the misinterpretation that I don't understand you. But the truth of the matter is, I just disagree with you, and I've provided a reason for why that's not necessarily the case.
I'm just going to say this, and then we can go to conclusions. So,
okay.
I don't think that if you don't meet why the conditional doesn't actually fulfill the proposition, then I don't think the argument goes through whatsoever.
That's okay. You don't have to think that, and I believe that I've fulfilled everything I need to fulfill. I've actually think I've clarified multiple times, and I think you've agreed multiple times, but have backtracked.
That's cold.
So that's completely okay. Would you like to go to conclusions?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And that's fine. I'll debate Kuro next. That's completely okay. So what's your conclusion? Or would you like me to go first?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay, I believe the data that I presented directly and clearly leads to my conclusion. I believe I've explained why it logically correlates, and I've explained the truth condition that necessitates the truth barrier in this instance. I've also explained to him why me specifying the inference rule that is used here is not necessary, in that, we can still logically explain how we got and how we obtained this inference without specifying a direct formal inference rule. I've explained to him why I inferred such, and I also asked him if there was any contention directly with such to which he foolishly said no. He tried to specify evidence later by backtracking, realizing this, to which I explained to him, that's fine. I'm not saying you have an issue with the evidence, but what is the issue with the actual conclusion that I've formed when I directly explain why it leads to this conclusion, given the evidence and the direct data that I've seen? And he didn't have quite the answer. Instead, he kept saying that I, in fact, didn't do this and I didn't specify the inference rule, even though I've explained to him multiple times why that's not necessary, and I can still explain how I obtained this inference and how this conclusion is completely, or this argument is completely sound and reasonable. So that's my conclusion.
All right, yeah. So the conclusion, I'm just going to give, and more so my opinions on the debate. I think the debate went, pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting. That's the route that I took. Yeah, no. So when we covered the initial proposition, which the statement to clarify was that your character can just like get rid of my character or something like that. Like around those areas, I'm not trying to be direct or specific, just pretty broad. Well, the fulfillment of that proposition, well, the conditional that was supposedly given, was based under one premise, and that premise was a statement that the character could do everything, etc., etc. Well, that's completely fine, right? That premise can be fulfilled, but the problem is that that condition has to logically follow to the conclusion, and so, well, sure, you don't have to give some sort of formal structure. A rule of inference is, still a major conditional. Obviously, like, Archie already stated before, there's other ways to tie that, something can logically follow to a conclusion. And that's all that was, simply being asked. I mean, I guess I could have just said something other than that than just keeping it at, like, inference rule, which is, like, the formal, and then rule of inference. But, aside from that, just, stating the premises and then granting the evidence to be true isn't really enough to fulfill an argument to defend a proposition. And so when we account and we just say, oh yeah, well, it does fulfill, it does logically follow. Well, when we ask how, we didn't really get an answer. At least that was my thoughts. Obviously Archie has different thoughts on the debate, which is completely fine. Yeah, no, I think that was pretty much it. I only have mod. I don't know if I can end the stage, but I'm gonna save recording if you want, Archie, and you can upload it or something, whatever.
Yeah, sure. I don't really know. I'm just here.
How you been, bro?
Bro, I've been chilling, bro. I've been busy with school, busy with life, but
Word up,
pretty good. I'm on winter break right now.
Word up. Yeah, no, I'm in on winter break too. This first year of college for me has been pretty interesting.
Oh, same. Well, technically, this is my first year on campus because I've been going, but it's still been definitely a change for sure.
Yeah, no, I think I'm planning on moving because I'm in a dorm right now, but I plan on actually getting an apartment because they're just a lot cheaper if you split rent with like a roommate.
That's fair. And I'm just living by myself.
Oh, word up. Well, if anyone else wants to debate, I'm just gonna end the stage.
Yeah,
to Junior. Oh, I can't end chat. Well.